Hi, Jamie. Congratulations.
Hi, Jay. Thank you.
This is so wonderful. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm so thrilled for you, and it's so exactly right, because you really are an agent of change, someone I admire tremendously, and there are so many of us who look to you, and we're very, very grateful for all that you do.
Thank you. It means a lot coming from you, especially. Thank you.
So how has 2020 been for you? Is the tail end of it looking any better than it was back in March?
I mean, yeah, we are getting close to the end of 2020, if nothing else. So there's some sort of passing on of that, and I have all sorts of high hopes for 2021. But
yeah.
It does feel better to be in a position of seeing, I feel like, some sort of a light at the end of the tunnel, or at least not being in a position of what's going to happen, what is going on, that kind of chaos. I think that all of us have felt through the pandemic.
Right.
I'm lucky, very, very lucky, that there have been a couple of performance opportunities, and I've gotten to sing with an orchestra and with a pianist. And if there is anything that has been really, really good in 2020, it's to come all the way back around to finding my love for what we do, to really, really appreciating having the opportunity to do this in any way, shape, or form. It's such a joy-bringing thing, certainly for me, and hopefully for the audience too.
How do you think that's going to affect you going forward, the good things that have come out of this, and also the things that, you'll be glad to leave behind? How do you think that's going to affect you moving forward as an artist?
I absolutely think it's going to affect how I move forward as an artist. I'm already starting to think creatively about how I want to move forward. And a lot of it comes in with the idea of making what we do more approachable in as many ways possible as I can do, whether it be through the choices of music that I sing, or performances that I do, or the locations that I go to. And then on the other side of the coin is also how I move through the career. The element of self-care has been something that really had to come into full focus in this, I think, for me to really get through a pandemic and not just crash and burn. It's weird to have Groundhog Day for 6 months, basically.
Yes.
So what do we learn? How can we go forward? What kind of pace is reasonable as artists? What kind of output is reasonable in terms of what we give the audience and the quality of what we do, and how we approach the art form as a whole? I think that there are going to be a lot of changes coming, and I am so excited for that in a lot of different ways. I find hope in that rather than fear.
Yeah, and you see opportunity where a lot of other people don't see possibility. You see possibility and opportunity for change, which you embrace. You always have. That's something that I've always admired about you. But not every artist feels that it's important to speak out on difficult issues, things that make people uncomfortable. Why do you feel that's important? And have you always been that way, or did you come to that slowly?
Well, I definitely came to it a little bit slowly, actually. Actually, hold on just a second. My cat just jumped up on the table.
Okay. Ow!
She was standing right on a plastic bag that was going to make all of the noise. Okay. Would you like to redo the question?
Sure. Okay. So, well, I love that you always see possibility and opportunity where some people just see closed doors, and you embrace that opportunity for change and possibility. But, not every artist feels that it's important or essential to speak out on difficult issues, things that make us uncomfortable. Have you always felt compelled to speak out on those issues, or is that something that evolved and you came to slowly, or what was the turning point?
I really think that the turning point for me when it comes to speaking out actually had a lot to do with my own growth as a human being, coming around to not only loving and respecting myself and figuring my own way out through the world, but also seeing what other people go through in their struggles, whether it be struggle with coming out with your sexuality, struggles financially, with your place in the world. It is a scary thing sometimes to speak out on tough subjects, because we live in a world right now that is very, what's the word I'm looking for? We live in a world right now that is very separate in some ways. You look at the world politically, we're right there. It's very, people are on opposite sides of the fence on a lot of things right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that when I speak out about something that really means something to me,
Mm-hmm.
then I have found that I end up empowering other people to do the same. And I think that positive change comes in the world from empowerment. It comes from feeling like you have a community, that you belong somewhere, and you have a place in a conversation where somebody might have told you at some point that you didn't have a place in.
Mm.
And I think that's worth doing the scary thing. Glennon Doyle says we can do hard things, and I absolutely agree. And so I've been trying to challenge myself in the last couple of years of my life to step up when that gut response comes in and says, this is important, and to share it, whether it be a deeply personal thing or an overarching subject that we are all affected by. I find that I think it's really important to step up and say, this is what I believe, and if you believe this too, you're not alone.
Yeah. Where do you feel like you're making the most difference? Was it a surprise to you that opera and song and the concert world could be such a platform to share this message? I mean, they are about social issues, but sometimes we separate those things and we step back and we just are entertained. But you make them so vibrant and vital and prescient and in the moment. So where do you feel you're making the most difference with your voice, your personal and your professional voice?
I think I'm probably making the most difference in any areas that are deeply personal to me. The ones that really jump out for me are my bisexuality. I did not even know that I was bisexual until I was 33 years old. And a lot of that had to do with social messaging about how bisexuality isn't a valid sexuality, that if you are bisexual, you're going through a phase, or you're actually gay and you're still holding on to straight land or something like that. And so that has been one of the big areas that I get a lot of response back from, when, especially, waving the flag at the proms last year. I can't tell you how many people reached out to me to say, thank you for standing up, not only for the queer community, but for bisexual people and pansexual people, that this is a valid way to move through life.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one that I think I probably get the most response from is body image, body diversity, radical self-love, actually, is what I prefer to think of it as. And to me, that conversation is a far-reaching one. It's one that it goes beyond just body size, but to the conversation of diversity in terms of representation on stage. And we know, especially from the social conversation right now, that this is such an important issue, and it's one that has vastly affected the classical music industry, I think mainly in a negative way. So I'm here to open up the doors of representation in any way that I possibly can. And I can certainly start from the personal place of really advocating for people of all sizes and shapes to be on stage and to tell all of those stories, not just being the maid on the side of the stage.
It's wonderful. I'm so proud of you for all the leaps you are taking, and that you're taking people along with you, and they're happy to go. I think you also opened a door that people were eager to have opened. you know, and to go through it like this. When you're performing opera, song, concert, how do you find a healthy balance between those? Because either one of them could be overwhelming and take over your life. And you're fortunate that you're offered to do both. But how do you find that balance between opera and song, and the choices of rep that you're going to do based on the change, the agent of change that you are?
Well, I will first of all completely own that if I'm trying to balance the pie chart of my life, it is almost always out of balance. You know, I'm not entirely sure that I am a balanced person when it comes to how I balance, you know, doing opera versus song versus concert. What I do try to do is to choose the rep that really feeds me, because I find in those situations, you know, we're singing about human experiences. You know, humans write this, you write this, and it's, if I can connect on a really personal level, then I'm giving the best possible performance that I can. I'm standing up for whatever story I'm telling in the truest way possible. But I really do try to keep as much recital and concert in my calendar as I can, because operas take up a larger chunk of the calendar, and I love doing them. But let's be 1,000% honest, I absolutely love getting artistic control. So being able to do recitals like the recital tour I've got coming up with you, sir,
Yeah.
is just a really exciting moment to be able to say, what do we want to talk about? What do we
Yeah.
want to sing about? What music do we want to play? What stories do we want to tell? And to me, that's a really gratifying bit of being an artist. I know a lot of singers who don't prefer to be on the recital stage. If they do concert, they tend to do orchestral concert, and I love that too. But recital is a very, very important part of my artistic expression.
A lot
And
of people are afraid of recital because it is you, and it takes a lot of courage to just be you. In an opera, you have a character, you have a costume, you have director, but in a recital, it's just you. Were recitals ever scary for you, or was that always something that you just went for?
I would say that recitals are always scary for me. They
Because
continue to
it's,
be, you know, it just, it's, there is a really daunting aspect of being alone on the stage with your pianist and telling these stories to an intimate house of people that you can see right there, you know? But that's actually what I absolutely love about it. I was very lucky. I went to a very small undergrad, shorter college, and they didn't have an opera theater. They had a black box theater that they used for musical theater, and every other year we got to do an opera. I did one opera in the time that I was there, my famous Prince Orlovsky.
you'd be great as Prince Orlovsky.
It was a lot of fun to wear a tux for the first time in my life. But really, my training for the formative years of just starting out as a singer were in recital.
Mm,
They were in concert a little bit, but a lot in recital.
mhm.
And what I found that I loved was being able to look into the audience and seeing the eyes of the people who I'm singing to. And, you know, I definitely don't like look people in the eye when I'm singing, you know, that's not what I try to do. But connecting on a personal level with, I always say recital is kind of the tapas version of classical music. You know, operas are a steak dinner. You know what you're getting. You're in there for the appetizer. You're going to have that steak. You know, you're going to enjoy it. And listen, I love me some steak. Let's be honest.
Yes, you do.
But that being said, I love recitals because it is really tapas. It is, you get so many different tastes of so
Yeah.
many different angles of the human experience. And to see that connection on people's face in the audience is just, it's a magical thing that I don't get in any other angle of the career. And I understand that that really is a daunting thing, to see the audience, to see their eyes, to see what is connecting and what isn't connecting. That can be really nerve-wracking even for me, who really, really loves it. But at the end of the day, that's one of the reasons that I do that. It's one of the
Yeah.
reasons I love doing that.
Yeah. You must have great sympathy for stand-up comedians, what they go through too.
Oh my gosh,
It's
that's a
just,
job I
it's
couldn't
just
do.
all you,
I
right?
really couldn't do that job. I mean, I consider myself a humorous person, but
Yeah.
whoo, that's
Woo.
talk about naked on stage. Like,
Yeah. So okay, here's a fun question for you. What's it like for you working with the composer in the room?
it is incredible. It is nerve-wracking as heck.
Sorry.
Well, you know, we're so trained to come at the scores from the come scritto kind of way, to do exactly what's in the score. And actually, one of the things I love about working with composers that are living is the fact that I find across the board, most composers, and very much including you, are so interested in figuring out how their music works with the person who is doing it.
Yeah.
And I love that, you've said before, like, whatever Jamie wants, she can do it. It's fine. I
Right.
try, I try not to take that and run with it too far, but there is, what's the word I'm looking for? There is a freedom that comes with the storytelling and being able to go to the composer directly and say, okay, what were you thinking right here?
Yeah.
To really delve, like, do the deep nerd dive into the score with the person who created the score,
Yeah.
and to come up with what you're going to be doing to tell the story along with the person who wrote the story. It's incredible. It's something we don't get to do in a lot of the common standard rep operas that we do, or recital music or concert music.
Yeah. I think it's already so brave being a singer and trusting that everything's going to work and be out there on the stage, giving of yourself, all of you. And you never, as a singer, you never actually get to hear your instrument the way other people do. You never really see yourself on stage. So you never actually get to see your instrument. So being out there brave on the stage, but then doing something newly written that you're participating in with the person that wrote it is just another level of, like, wow. So learning to embrace and deal with that is incredible. And I've always felt like you're a creative colleague and partner, um,
Thank you.
in the bringing to life of a new piece, or in the bringing to life of an old piece, because you have such curiosity and you're so eager to explore all the corners and bring what you have to it. And that's not always the case. So it's a real partnership when writing for you or working with you. And I hope you feel that too.
I really do. I really, really do. You talk about, like, different levels. I think the mountaintop level that I have ever experienced in my career was singing Sister Helen,
Mm.
because having you in the room and also having Sister Helen Prejean in the room, I mean, it gave insight to the personality, the psychology, the music angle, the storytelling, like every possible angle. It was an embarrassment of riches in the best possible way. And it's just something that not everybody gets to experience, like, really not everybody. So what a gem of a situation to get to play with.
Okay, I have two more questions for you. One of them is, a lot of, you are a role model to a lot of younger singers, and you've been going through a lot on your own this year. What kind of perspective or advice would you give younger people who are just finding their way in this business right now, based on what you've experienced and what you're experiencing now?
That is a massive question.
Yeah,
Um,
you know,
quite honestly, I would tell them to just do the work, to really get down, because even if you have to figure out a different way to pay the bills, even if you have to figure out a different way to be able to get out of bed in the morning, if you can get to the place where you can find curiosity and love for what you're doing and get back into the work, start immersing yourself in whatever steps forward you would need to be doing from wherever you are, then you're already doing yourself and this industry as at large a massive bonus.
Mm.
Um, it has been a difficult year. It's been a really difficult year. And quite honestly, I also would totally suggest listening to your body and your mind. If your body and your mind say, take a break, take a step back, then do that. Don't force it. Lord knows we're not getting paid for it right now, you know? So I really pay attention and do that. But then the other thing is, I think all wrapped up in self-care, learning how to complete the stress cycle in order to not tamp it all down, learning how to breathe through it, to really think through it. It reaches to other parts of your life. And that's incredible. Like that is a winning combination. If you can start learning things that will serve you in all areas of your life. And if nothing else, this pandemic has forced me to really, really examine that and to examine how I approach stress, how I deal with stress. It's a tiny silver lining there, but man, I'm going to come out, I think, a lot more equipped with the tools to be able to do that in normal, non-pandemic life. And that's incredible. And when you are at that level of being able to process and live, then you can do the really good work, whether it be singing work or the supporting your colleagues and friends and fellow humans work, or, whatever that work is for you. If you balance yourself and you put your, oxygen mask on first, then you really set yourself up to be your own agent of change. And that's an incredible job.
It's a great journey. Thank you for sharing all of that. It's so important to remind young people to embrace those challenges, not just shy away from them, but also to respect when they're overwhelming. Yeah. But doing the work and being prepared for whatever comes next. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And finally, what are you really looking forward to in 2021 that's coming up?
I'm trying to think. I mean, so many things.
Yeah.
Vaccine. I'm really looking forward to a vaccine.
We all are.
I am willing that into existence right now.
Yeah.
If we're talking about just the normal swing of the year coming from a personal place, I would say just getting back to this.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to perform if we're still dealing with COVID. And then once that starts to pass, really getting back into it. I miss my colleagues. I miss standing at the front of an orchestra and feeling that sound wash over me. I miss that so much.
Being in the room together, right? That's what it's all about.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. Getting to connect on sharing that experience. It's, I love getting time in my condo. That's a big silver lining for this time. But that being said, there's just nothing that creates the kind of joy that happens when you can open up your mouth and make the prettiest loud hollering noise you possibly can with the other musicians who are surrounding you, telling stories that move people when they see them. There's no better job, honestly. So
that's what we love about you. Jamie, you're amazing. I'm so excited and so happy for you. Agent of change. I couldn't find better words, myself, except best buddy, that too.
That's Jamie.